A couple of pleased parents are in the stands, cheering on their children on the stage. What you may not realize is that it also conceals a frightening secret, a dark secret of deception, desire, and crime. The couple cheering is Celeste and Stephen Beard. They are present at their twin daughter's high school graduation, Jennifer and Kristina. The woman sitting by herself in front of them is Tracy Tarleton. Although she appears content and devoted to the twins, but in the real sense, she is truly only waiting for the right opportunity to strike. This story is full of deceit, suspense, emotions, and tragedy. Why not take a pause and just subscribe to our channel to get more of these intriguing stories? Now let's get back to this story.
She tells you just enough truth mixed in with her lies that they become believable. She's fascinating.
This is Jennifer and Kristina Beard's survivor story. The story begins in 1993. Kristina, a 13-year-old girl, had been separated from her identical twin sister at the time. She lived in Austin, Texas with her mother, Celeste, and stepfather, Stephen, while Jennifer lived in Washington State with their biological father, Craig. Following their divorce, the twins' parents participated in a lengthy custody battle, resulting in the girls being split between the two of them. Being each other's best friends, it is easy to understand how difficult it was for the girls to be hundreds of miles apart. Forward to July of 1996, the twins have finally decided to take a summer trip together to reunite at their grandparents' home in California after 3 years of living apart. Since it's their first time together in more than 2 years, they are incredibly excited. When Jennifer tries to call their father, Craig, to let him know they've arrived safely, no one picks up the phone. This is when their happy situation takes a dark turn. They call their father repeatedly but receive no response. After going 2 days without communication, the twins learned that their father was found dead in his home and had left behind a handwritten letter. It explained all of his silent struggles over the years. But still, his daughters could not help but wonder why he would choose to leave them. The twins are in shock, and their brief 2-week reunion was now extended as Jennifer abruptly moved in with Kristina, Celeste, and their new stepfather, Stephen Beard, in Austin, Texas. Jennifer initially found the transition difficult, but when she met Steve Beard, her new stepdad, she was pleasantly surprised by how hospitable and loving he was, as he made sure to pay close attention to his new stepdaughter. The new blended family from the outside seemed to be leading a happy life after years of coexisting. The sisters are in their senior year of high school, and for once they have a reliable father figure. The twins were even formally adopted by Stephen, who gave them each a unique family ring to seal the bond. However, on October 2nd, 1999, at 2:30 a.m., everything would change. Kristina is back at Stephen's house like any other night, sleeping in bed while Jennifer was out with her boyfriend. Kristina's bedroom door suddenly swung open. The lights come on and her mother rushes through the door and yells, "Someone's at the door!" Kristina is stunned, but manages to get out of bed and head towards the front door, where she notices flashing lights that are very bright. She is shocked because she has no idea who is outside or what they are looking for. In that state of panic, Kristina rushes to the phone and dials 911. She alerts them to the situation. From the knocks at their front door to the sirens and flashing lights all over their house, Kristina learns from the 911 operator that the individuals outside are actually the police. Apparently, someone else inside the home had called 911 just a few moments earlier.
What's going on there?
I'm in bed.
How did...
An awful place.
Okay, are you there by yourself?
My wife is somewhere in the house, I guess.
And Kristina quickly ran to the front door to let them in. As her mother frantically runs after them, Kristina and the police hastily make their way to her stepfather's bedroom. Steve was in bad shape. Quick action and emergency medical care were required if there was any hope for Stephen to survive. Steve was losing a lot of blood, despite the paramedics' best efforts to stabilize him. He is rushed to the hospital, but then one of the police officers makes a startling discovery. On the floor next to his bed, there is a shotgun shell. As Steve is being transported to the nearby hospital by air, Kristina makes a call to her sister to update her on the situation. The crime scene at the Beard residence is cordoned off as the detectives continue to conduct the routine walkthrough. All evidence points to a side door that was left unlocked. It appears to have been used by someone to enter Steve's bedroom where he was shot. Before they can start looking into their theory, they must first collect DNA samples from everyone and everything, including any family members who might have been present when the crime was committed. The samples were taken from Kristina, Jennifer, and their mother, Celeste. The girls were perplexed, but Kristina remembered a peculiar event from that evening. Suddenly, Celeste whispers to her, "If the police ask you who might have done this, don't mention Tracy's name." 6 months prior to the night of the attack, Celeste had a chance encounter with Tracy Tarleton, who was 45 years old. She oversaw a neighborhood bookstore in Austin, and they quickly became good friends. She frequently received invitations from the twins' mother to dinner parties and birthday celebrations. She was even present at their high school graduation. In an effort to make sense of what is happening, the twins are en route to the hospital. They are perplexed because their mother had warned them not to bring up Tracy, but this only fuels their suspicions. As a result, Tracy Tarleton becomes the focus of the investigation. However, there's a problem. Detectives believed someone else was involved because there was no clear motive as to why Tracy would hurt Steve. Based on the available evidence, which is the 20-gauge shotgun shell and the exact bullet that had wounded Stephen Beard, the police swiftly obtained a search warrant for Tracy Tarleton's home. They then made their way to Tracy Tarleton's house and rapped on her door. The question of whether Miss Tarleton owned a shotgun was raised, to which she replied, yes. She reluctantly consented when they asked if they could see it. She gave them a 20-gauge Franchi shotgun that had her name engraved on it. After seizing the shotgun, law enforcement brought it in for additional examination. Everyone is left waiting for news from the detectives for days until they finally have the findings. The shotgun turned out to be the very one that fired the bullet that Mr. Beard was shot from and injured. Tracy Tarleton was detained and charged with attempted murder on October 8, 1999, which was 5 days after Stephen Beard was shot. But the authorities are not satisfied. They are aware that there is more to the story than what they have learned so far because Tracy won't explain why she did this. Detectives keep questioning Tracy because they think she wasn't acting alone and there might be another person responsible who is currently at large, but she won't answer any of them. Stephen was in the hospital for a while. Sadly, Steve succumbed to his gunshot wounds after a grueling few months of fighting for his life with the twins by his side. The sisters are left with pain and even more questions as they struggle to deal with their father's passing. Their mother, Celeste, tries to be there for them. She engages them in preparation for the funeral and even lets them join her to purchase a casket for him. However, the twins were not prepared for what would happen next. Celeste proposed to purchase 2 pink coffins for her daughters. They were perplexed and alarmed by Celeste's suggestion that her children, who were 18 at the time, choose their funeral caskets. The girls were unable to help, but feel that something was strange. The story of Stephen Beard makes it to the local newspapers and television networks. Everyone following the progress of the case grew concerned that the real murderer might still be at large. The investigators are, however, at a standstill because they lack solid proof. Meanwhile, the twins notice their mother's behavior is getting stranger and more erratic in the midst of it all. They would occasionally catch Celeste just laughing while they were crying or acting emotionally. Come the 16th of February, in the year 2000, nobody could have predicted what lay ahead for the 2 young twins. Out of the blue, their mother comes up to them that day and says, "Hey, why don't we all kill ourselves?" All of a sudden, Celeste took out a knife and extended it in a threatening manner.
She just stabs herself in the leg.
Blood starts gushing everywhere.
I was just like, what is happening?
In a state of panic, the twins dial 911 and beg for help for their mother. As soon as the ambulance pulls up, the paramedics jump right to work on her to stop her leg from bleeding. The girls watch in disbelief as their mother is swiftly loaded into an ambulance and taken to the nearby hospital. While still in the hospital over the following weeks, Celeste kept calling her daughters. With each call, Celeste got crazier and more disturbing each time. That's when Kristina gets an idea that will ultimately provide the proof needed for detectives to identify Steve Beard's real killer. She intended to tape their phone calls in the hopes that when she played them back to her mother, it would encourage her to improve. But just as Kristina was about to stop recording, Celeste said something crucial that completely altered the course of the investigation. In her own words, "I hired somebody to kill Tracy." The twins were gripped with fear. They realized that their mother's frequent, strange, and violent outbursts, like the pink coffins she had purchased, were all pointing to one thing. Their mother was a dangerous person, and they were going to be next on her list if the suspicious death of their father and her current murderous scheme against Tracy were to be considered. From there, things only got worse. The twins were in greater danger than ever after their mother was discharged from the hospital. The only way for Jennifer and Kristina to survive at that point was to hide from their mother and make sure she could not find them. Kristina and Jennifer were able to flee without leaving a trace. Jennifer cleared out her bank account, and they began to stay in motels and carry out all actions using only cash. In the meantime, Celeste was trying to find them. It was unquestionably the most terrifying time they had ever experienced. From that point forward, they were aware there was no turning back. Knowing they were armed with the recorded conversations of their mother's threats, the twins approached the police in order to obtain a family violence protective order. Thankfully, it was granted. The police now had the recordings but still needed something to have a rock-solid case. Only Tracy Tarleton could confirm their suspicions that their mother was responsible for their stepdad's demise. Tracy knew this, but she chose to remain silent the entire time. Tracy, who was in jail awaiting a trial for her part in Steve's murder, remained silent until she read in the newspaper in March 2002 that the twins had received a family violence protective order against their mother. At this precise time, Tracy finally made the decision to work with the police by telling them the real reason behind her actions. This is the information that investigators have been waiting for since the night of the murder. She finally admitted that Celeste was the mastermind behind the crime and that she did not kill Steve on her own. Investigators finally had enough evidence to arrest Celeste for capital murder on the 28th of March 2002, thanks to Tracy's crucial statement and the twins' damning audio recordings. However, a lot of work still needed to be done if they stood a chance of proving her guilt to the jury beyond a reasonable doubt. In an effort to bring their mother down and make sure she is never released from prison, the twins start working with the police, attorneys, and the shooter, Tracy Tarleton. The trial for Celeste Beard officially began on the 3rd of February in 2003. The sisters had to take a stand in front of their own mother, and it was not easy because, after all she had said and done, they were understandably frightened to be in the same room as her.
Brought into the courtroom, I was super scared because I was thinking if she gets out and they say she's innocent, she's definitely gonna kill me.
On the one hand, they understood that she was still their mother. But on the other hand, they understood that Steve deserved justice, and perhaps most importantly, they understood that if their mother was not convicted, they would never truly feel safe. The twins testified in court that their mother had serious mental health issues throughout their entire lives, which led to violent outbursts and a traumatizing childhood in general. Jennifer also revealed that Celeste married Steve Beard, a 69-year-old multimillionaire retired TV executive, not out of love, but in order to access his sizable inheritance. The investigators also proved that Celeste spent her husband's money on a variety of clothing, jewelry, and expensive artwork within the first 6 months of their marriage, spending over $500,000. Surprisingly, the twins recalled how they noticed Celeste used to drug Steve. She would slip sleeping pills into his food and would sneak out of the house after he dozed off. This happened on multiple occasions, according to the girls. Celeste also experienced a psychotic break in February 1999, 8 months before the murder of Stephen Beard. She grabbed a gun, pointed it at her own head, and started yelling death threats at Kristina. After that incident, she was checked into the St. David's Psychiatric Mental Hospital in Austin, Texas. And it was while residing at that mental health facility that Celeste met Tracy Tarleton. Their mother began to pay her a lot of attention right away, spending a lot of time with her and eventually growing to be very close and intimate with her. After gaining Tracy's trust, Celeste was able to execute her true strategy because she could now control her. She persuaded Tracy that she desired a sexual encounter with her. Additionally, she also planted the narrative that Steve was a violent spouse. All of this was just Celeste setting Tracy up to kill for her. Tracy truly believed that Celeste was in trouble. However, the truth was that Celeste had never even liked Tracy Tarleton. She was simply willing to go out of her way to have a lesbian relationship with her if it could get her what she wanted. Tracy herself testified that when Celeste said, "I cannot live any longer with this abusive husband," she just had the urge to intervene. Steve wasn't violent, though. It was all a part of Celeste's evil scheme. In front of the twins and the jury, Tracy explained Celeste's strategy for killing her husband in court. Apparently, Steve was too healthy, which made Celeste grow angry over time. She had initially assumed he was an elderly man who would pass away soon when she married him. Tracy explained how Celeste gave her specific instructions on where to park, where to enter the house, and how to return to her car. Tracy also admitted that she carried out the plan and shot Steve once before leaving. Eyewitnesses observed that while Tracy was testifying, Celeste would occasionally shake her head or even chuckle at some things. However, when it was time for her own daughters to take the stand, her countenance changed and her expressions were colder. The audio recording of her murderous plot against Tracy and her reoccurring threats against the girls was one of the most damning pieces of evidence they had to reveal. The trial continued for several weeks before ending on the 19th of March 2003, when the jury returned with its decision after 3 days of deliberation. Breaths were held in the courtroom that day. The jury had the power to decide whether Celeste would continue to serve time for the murder of her husband, or if she would be set free to most likely haunt the twins for the rest of their lives. The sisters were relieved to get justice for the murder of their father. As the trial comes to a close, Kristina again bravely takes the witness stand, but this time she addresses her mother in person to put an end to the fear she has been experiencing for more than 2 years. Celeste Beard was given 2 consecutive sentences of 40 years in prison with no chance of parole until she is 79 years old. Now that they are no longer required to remain in hiding, the twins have the opportunity to fully live their lives. After the hearing was over, Tracy made a request to speak with the twins and expressed her regret for her part in their suffering. The twins claimed that this sincere act of forgiveness sparked the start of a protracted healing process for them. 20 years after the trial, their sisterly relationship has only gotten stronger. Jennifer, now 42, enjoys her job and focuses on her mental health, while Kristina is a wife and devoted mother of 2 kids. She is pleased to provide for her children the love, care, attention, and nurturing she never experienced as a child. In the end, they were able to build fulfilling lives, ultimately serving as living examples of the possibility of happiness, even in the face of tragedy. All right, that's it, guys. Please leave a comment about what you think of this story. See you in our next videos.